Drinking with Authors may contain adult content. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Drinking with Authors. I am your host, Nick Savage, author of many books, including the West Haven the Dead series. But that's not why we're here. Before we get to William Bernhardt, author of the Superman Wars, I have to mention my sponsor, which is Four Horsemen Publications. Find them at fourhorsemenpublications.com. And I'm moving my phone because that's why I'm having trouble thinking. It's raining over here. Find them over there at fourhorsemenpublications.com. Check them out. Lots of great authors. But with us today, as I mentioned, is William Bernhardt, author of the Superman Wars. And we are not drinking today, thank God, because that was a hot mess coming in. What are you drinking, sir?
I am drinking Gatorade. And the reason, I'd like to say it's because I'm a health nut, but I'm not. I did, however, have to put together a colonoscopy prep earlier this week, though. I bet that's the first time you've gotten that answer on the show, right?
That is the first time, and I've been witness to colonoscopy preps from start to finish. Oh, I do not look forward to the day I have to do mine.
Yeah. Oh, it's only every 3 or 5 years, so whatever. Yeah, this and a bucket of Imodium. And the procedure is easy. I'm asleep, but the day before is miserable.
Yeah.
But I'm too cheap to throw stuff away, so today I'm drinking the last of the Gatorade.
That's okay. It'll help with the electrolytes. Here's the thing, Gatorade, since this is a drinking podcast and we're not drinking, I'm going to throw this out there. For everyone in their 20s who gets hangovers and is like, oh my God, I can't do it, and the greasy food doesn't sit well with me afterwards, which greasy food is great for it, Gatorade, Powerade, any of the drinks that have your electrolytes and your salt content, because that's what's causing your hangover. So that's why you might actually get a headache while doing the colonoscopy prep kit, is because you're losing so many electrolytes in the process that it can actually cause hangover-like symptoms.
Interesting.
Yes.
This is an educational podcast.
It is. We didn't know we were going to make it educational today. But as I'm sure people did not tune in to hear about colonoscopies, maybe they did. I don't judge our audience.
Put it in the show notes. See what happens.
Yes. You have written over 60 books.
I think this is my 67th. Yes.
67
book.
And if your website, which is literally just williambernhardt.com.
Yeah.
You can check them all out there, and do check them out. They look fantastic. You have everything from the series thrillers, the Ben Kincaid and Pike series, down to like writing books on how to write very specific topics on those books and stuff. So you've written 1 or 2 books at 67.
Well, I've been at it for a while, but yes, I'm staying busy, which is good. None of those were, I mean, this is a complete departure, though. This is my first time to venture into history biography.
So tell us about the Superman Wars, because we were talking about it backstage, and I cut you off because I want to hear it and get my, reaction first and like as it happened. So all about it. Dig it.
Superman Wars is the story of Jerry Siegel, who was the guy who first came up with the idea of a superhero, Superman. It went through various stages, but it was his idea, and he got his best friend Joe Shuster to draw it and spent years and years marketing it. And as everybody knows, was finally published. That was in 1938. He gave the world this champion for truth, justice, and the American way. But he received none of the above. What he received was decades of fighting and unhappiness. And, it's a classic confrontation between art and commerce. The artists give us so much, but it's the suits that always seem to get rich. And that's what the book is really about. Yes, our lens is the superhero world, because Superman's the first superhero. He starts the whole thing running. And if things had gone better for Jerry, it might have gone better for everybody who came after, but it didn't, which is why people have called this the original sin of comic books, because the very first guy ends up basically spending decades on the brink of poverty.
Now, as a historical fiction or historical biography, not fiction, how much research, like how different is it to write
Yeah.
something, a biography, than it is to make it up?
Oh, it is so much harder. I was really unprepared. This probably took 3 times as much time as I thought it was going to be. I'm not complaining. I enjoyed it. It was fun. I chose the subject because it was one I was passionate about. I chose to write about Jerry the writer because I'm a writer and I can relate to writers. I can relate to a lot of the things Jerry went through. In his early days, he was very precocious. He knew early on that he wanted to be a writer, like I did, and he started sending things out very early and getting them published. I got my first rejection letter when I was 11, which I can prove because I've still got it, and I got a bunch more. So, I can relate to what, and the only difference is that, Jerry had no one to advise him. His father passed when he was 17. Joe's father was the elevator operator at a hospital. They were from poor families during the Depression. And he didn't have a parent to teach him how to invest or handle business matters. He didn't have an agent. Gosh, the whole history of comics might be different if Jerry Siegel had just had an agent, but he didn't. He didn't have a lawyer, and it didn't turn out well for him. I mean, he made some money in the short term, to be fair, but not in the long term.
Definitely not what he deserved.
Yeah, well, to me, that's the key thing. We can argue about legalities all night long, but to me, it is ethically and morally wrong for the artist to not share in the benefit. I mean, like the whole time. And worse, I'm getting ahead of the story a little bit, but at one point, the owners, the predecessor company to DC Comics, literally stripped Jerry and Joe's name off the feature. They don't even get credit for it anymore. And that's just wrong. In fact, I think that would be illegal today. It certainly would be in many European countries. And I think it would be illegal under the Berne Convention, which is an international treaty that governs such things. But the US didn't sign that till the 1980s. So it didn't help Jerry any.
No, he was a couple decades early on that.
Yeah, it's too bad. I mean, this is a work of genius, coming up with first ever superhero. And think how popular superheroes are now. It's like its whole genre, not only in books and comics, but movies, television shows. Go to any bookstore, the graphic novel section is booming. That all goes back to Jerry. That was, was an act of genius that created this whole new genre. It gave a huge credibility, gave credibility to this brand new medium, the comic book, which only started in 35, and people treated them like garbage until somebody started making real money with a really popular character, and that was Jerry's Superman.
So, does your book have an underlying theme of almost a cautionary tale for anyone reading it? Okay.
Yeah, totally so. I mean, and to be fair, the comic book world is a lot better than it used to be back in 1937. I mentioned DC Comics, which obviously owns Superman. About 1976, a woman named Jeanette Kahn became the president, changed the name to DC Comics, and for the first time started running it like a real company, if you know what I mean, instead of like, the original owners, I'm not making this up, they were former indicted pornographers and rum runners with mob connections. And there's nobody with a college degree or any real business experience until Jeanette Kahn. And one person I talked to, a comic creator, said, that was when we stopped keeping sales figures on the backs of envelopes and stuff like that, and started treating it like a real company. And she, with a guy named Paul Levitz, started focusing more on creators and trying to make, I mean, there's still a long ways to go, but it's better than it used to be.
This sounds like a book that will appeal not only to fans of history and fans of comics, but kind of a general broader audience as well.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. And that's why I wrote it in a narrative nonfiction standpoint. And just to clarify what that means, it doesn't mean I made anything up. I made nothing up. I made no scenes up. I didn't invent dialogue. If you see something in quotation marks, I've either got a source or a document that I'm drawing that from. Same thing for block quotes. But I did tell it from Jerry's viewpoint, because I think you need to understand what he was going for, going through to understand the story. You know, I wanted people to know not just the facts, but not just what happened, but why it happened. And for that, I needed to get people inside Jerry's head. So I wrote it from his viewpoint, but it is still 100% factual based on my pretty extensive research, years of looking at old documents, talking to people, going to libraries, digging through collections. I don't know if this is going to destroy the whole interview, but I am technically an attorney. I
actually have a question about that in relation to your novel, so go for it.
Well, I have a practice for decades, but other people have written about Siegel and Schuster and the lawsuits, and I never understood what they were talking about. I think for people who haven't been through the whole law school experience, pleadings and motions and appeals, and it's back to the trial court, and then it's on appeal again. It's so confusing and hard to follow that I couldn't find a competent explanation. So that was my starting point, figuring out all these lawsuits, 70 years of litigation, not to mention the lawsuits that led to those guys I mentioned before, the former pornographers seizing control of the company from its founder, a man named Major Nicholson, and basically rookie dude him out of his company legally, but shadily. Is that a word? You know what I mean.
No, yeah. I like it. Yeah, that's a word now. Yeah.
So I thought that was something I could bring to the party, because I can read pleadings and understand appeals and all that stuff. But I don't want people to get the impression that this book is just about litigation, because that would be so boring. That's part of the story that you have to understand. But it's not the whole story. The real story is that Jerry Siegel, you know, no matter what they did to him from day one with these people, and this is in the book, you'll see 10 years of litigation from the guy running the company named Jack Leibowitz, and it's just so abusive. He's rude, he's insulting, he calls them names, he's constantly threatening to fire Jerry and Joe, despite the fact that they supposedly have a 10-year employment agreement. I don't know what the value of that is when the boss is constantly threatening to dump you and get somebody else. But you know, and it just goes on and on and on. It's so abusive. And eventually Jerry, after he serves in World War II, he's drafted in 43 and spends a little over 2 years overseas, mostly as a journalist. But while he's gone, the company basically seizes control of everything. They get Joe and make him an in-house guy. They got all the people who are working with him and brought him in control. They're controlling the Superman machine at that point. And that's what Jerry comes home to. Excuse me. Plus he finds out that his script for a new character, sort of new character, called Superboy, the adventures of Superman when he was young and lives in a rural town and he's playing pranks on people and stuff like that. Jerry had proposed that as a new character, and they turned it down not once, but 3 times. And then while Jerry was gone overseas, they ran it without his knowledge or consent or paying for it and turned that into a whole new series. So eventually in 1947, he's just had enough, and he brings suit against the company.
And your book covers all of this, like from the beginning till you finish writing.
Yeah, we start when Jerry's young, because I wanted people to get a piece of how precocious this guy is. Yeah. And then even after he gets the Superman idea, it goes through about 4 different versions as he's refining the concept, making it a little better before we get to the Kryptonian, you know, the guy from outer space who came here. He's sort of reversing the Flash Gordon theme, if you know what I mean, because Flash Gordon was an Earth guy who goes to the planet Mongo and has adventures. Well, in Superman, it's the guy from another planet who comes here and deals with our problems. And the original Superman, as Jerry wrote it, wasn't dealing with supervillains or aliens or anything like that. He was dealing with the problems of the Depression era, the pre-war and later the World War II era. Jerry called him the champion of the weak and oppressed. He's really like an FDR New Deal reformer who's fixing stuff at home that Jerry knew needed to be fixed.
So do you know the word count of this novel?
Word count? Yeah.
It does not sound like a small book.
It's about standard. It's around 80,000 words. I don't know exactly.
That's not bad at all.
80, 85, especially when you consider that there's, a bibliography at the end, and nobody's going to actually read that. So
because of the span of time and the, you know what I'm saying, the history of it all, I was expecting it to be like a nice, like 200,000 word kind of like epic book, and you kept it nice and condensed. Yeah,
it could have been. I'll tell you, this is a secret. I don't think I've told anyone this before, but when I first turned it in, the publisher liked it. They bought it, and the first time I met my editor, he said, it could be shorter.
They always say that, though.
Well, in this case, I think he was right, because the idea was that, like you were saying, that it wouldn't just be for comic book aficionados, but it would be for everybody's who's interested in this battle between art and commerce. Jerry Siegel was the first American author to sue his publisher, and that's a turning point in this battle. And he hoped that college courses on comic books would pick it up for their textbook, and told me a story about how when he was in college they had to read 100 Years of Solitude, which the students called 100 Years of Reading because it's so long. So I trimmed about 30,000 words out of that, which was painful. But you know what? I think it's a better book as a result. I think it's much more sharply honed and focused on Jerry's story, which is the core of the thing.
I think that's a sign of a great writer, to be able to say it was painful, but it's better this way,
Thanks. I'll take the compliment.
So as an attorney, and I have never studied law beyond like what I see in like my cousin Vinny. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not.
It's totally accurate too.
Totally accurate. Yeah, who doesn't show up to
calling witnesses from the audience who aren't on the witness list, whatever.
Yeah. No, it was fine. It was the 90s. We did things. But like you see, and I see, people who don't know anything, haven't studied law, but watch and see. They see the attorneys doing research for their trials and stuff like that. Assuming there's some truth to that, did that kind of like background where you have to study case law and like find precedent help in the research for this book while deciphering the litigation that you had to, look
yeah,
up?
No, not at all. In fact, I think I told it in a way that, when you understand something, then you can explain it to somebody else, but you got to figure it out first. But I think all of that is explained in a way that anybody can follow. And like I said, it's not the whole of the book. It's just important.
Did that background with you help you write the book better? Sorry
absolutely. Sure.
Okay.
I had to be able to understand what was going on, and also understand, here's the frustrating thing. I'm reading all about this trial. The first one's in 1947. And I keep thinking, no, that's not the argument. You should be saying this instead of that. Because Monday morning quarterbacking is always a lot easier. But I do think that suit could have been won, but unfortunately it wasn't. If I hadn't said this yet, the judge agreed with Jerry with respect to Superboy, but did not agree that he should get back the rights to Superman. He'd signed a contract back in 1937 in order to get the feature published, which had some, a clause about all the characters' rights, copyright, all goes to the publisher, and he couldn't get that back.
But he did have a small win with the Superboy, which is...
Yeah, and then he settled on that because he was desperate for money. He came back from the war and found out his wife had not paid their taxes, so he owed the government $22,000. And at that point, he owed legal fees of about $20,000. And it's a long story, but he owed a guy named Zugworth about another 10, and he was panicking, and once again, did not make the right call. He should have taken Superman to another publisher and, see how you like that. Superboy, if I didn't say that right. But instead, he settled and got some money, but, it never lasts forever, right? That was the first time the company talked about settling because, of course, all their claims were based upon this guy, Jack Leibowitz's books. And as soon as the court said, well, we'll have to do an audit and find out what Jerry's owed, then they started talking about negotiation. He did not want people inside his accounting books. So we'll never know what was. I know this. Although Jerry and Joe did make some real money in the first years, they didn't make anything like what they were not only morally entitled to, but even legally. They were supposed to get 5% of all the merchandising off Superman, and he was hot. As soon as he was published, he was outselling Mickey Mouse, but they never got anything close to 5%.
I love history and history books, and this sounds like a book that's right up not only my alley, but God knows how many other people out there. I think this is going to be great. And this drops as of when this releases today. I'm going to say today, April 28th. So go to Amazon and put it in your cart and buy it, or go to the publisher's website, which is who's the publisher?
Permuted Press.
Go to their website and pop it in the cart, because I know that authors and publishers make a little more royalties if you buy directly from them. So go there and give Bill your money.
I'll be happy. Buy it anywhere. I'll be good. And don't make it hard for yourself.
Is it going to be available as audiobook?
Yes, but not till early June it releases in the audiobook format. I've heard the narrator, and I think he sounds really good. I haven't heard the whole thing yet, but I'm glad they're doing an audiobook, and the ebook is available too, of course.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Now, away from the book side, still on the writing side, you run a conference.
Yeah, WriterCon. Yeah, we do the WriterCon conference every year. It's Labor Day weekend in Oklahoma City, and it has become a big, significant conference. We'll have more than 60 speakers, about a dozen agents, which, if you're in New York, that's easy. When you're in Oklahoma, not so much, but we bring in the best, and, people are actually selling books for people. We'll have publishers here too, and author assistants, people, people providing services for authors, and of course, authors themselves. And we have a really nice conference every year. And that's not all we do. We have a monthly newsletter, comes out of Substack, totally free. Just go to Substack and search for WriterCon. Just to be clear, I'm saying WriterCon. So the website is writercon.com, which is really confusing. And we have a retreat every July, a small group retreat where people can come and workshop their books and get them ready for WriterCon. And so, that's a fun thing we do every year too. I really like working with other writers. My first book was published in 1991, Nick. So I've been doing this for a while.
Your first book was published when I was 11. So yeah.
I may be older than you, huh? Yeah. So I've been at it for a while, but I remember, being the punk kid in a small town in Oklahoma. I wanted to be a writer, but didn't have a clue how to make that happen. There were no writers in my neighborhood. I eventually figured it out, but all these programs, the WriterCon programs, I'm hoping, and the books that you were nice enough to mention that I've done on writing, I'm hoping will make it perhaps a little easier for the next generation. It's never going to be easy because writing is not easy, but maybe a little easier to get the information you need to succeed. There's so much happening in the writing world right now, so many changes, so many new paths to publication, but you can't take advantage of that if you don't know what it is. So we invite people, come to WriterCon, get the information and support you need, and then go publish something wonderful.
Now, is WriterCon to attend, not to be a speaker or anything like that, but to attend? Is it something anyone can buy a ticket for?
Yeah, absolutely. Just go. Did I say the website? Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
It's
WriterCon.
writercon.com. And front page, you'll see something about the conference, and there'll be something about the retreat and the podcast. We have a podcast as well, totally free. Just go punch that purple app if you have an iPhone and download the WriterCon app. It'll show up every couple weeks. But yeah, anybody's welcome.
And the hotel, I'm assuming the conference for people, because I know a lot of writers do the whole starving artist thing, the hotels block room rates and stuff.
Oh yeah, we have a great rate at the Skirvin Hilton. The Skirvin's a old, historic, and so of course haunted hotel in Oklahoma City, but it's a beautiful venue. I liked our previous venue too, but we've grown and we needed a bigger place, so now we're at the Skirvin.
Okay, so wait, I have to ask, because I used to be involved in some paranormal sides of things. Do you do during the conference, like after it's done for the day, do you do like a ghost tour of the hotel?
Well, I certainly don't. I don't know if the hotel does. I don't think I've heard about a ghost tour, but that doesn't mean there is one. But that's not part of the WriterCon programming. I want people to come, not run away. So
it would attract a whole different crowd, and that might not be the audience you're looking for at that point too.
Yeah.
No, that is wonderful. And how long is it? I'm assuming
it's a 3 or 4 day conference. I'm hedging because the main conference is 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We do have some separate kind of deep dive workshops on Monday, 3 or 6 hours long, and that's an add-on. That's why I put it on Labor Day weekend. I thought, you can attend the 3 days and still have a day left in your vacation, or you can spend that day and come back and learn more if you want to. You've got options.
No, that sounds wonderful. And it's been on my radar for a while. Traveling is something I always am hesitant to do, but that's a me thing because of planes, flying.
Yeah, book your air flight now, I would say.
Yeah. Flying is a mixed bag for me. I love flying. I hate the takeoff and I hate the landing to the point that my anxiety makes me pass out sometimes. But the flying itself is fine. Yeah.
Well, there are buses, Nick. I mean,
week-long trek down to Oklahoma. No, I'm actually flying out. I'm going to Tennessee. We're flying to Tennessee on the 30th. So I will in 2 days from when this airs. And so I'm facing my fears once again. And it's just I've flown many times. It's just one of those things where I'm just like, nope. I've seen too many movies.
Yeah.
But WriterCon sounds fun. Check it out, everyone, at WriterCon.com and get your tickets. Look at all the speakers they have, and the workshops and stuff like that. And your your series, your other books. I want to talk about that for a second, because the one thing I love are legal books, especially, or legal anything book shows, especially procedurals. And not even necessarily procedurals, but just anything in that vein. So give me the rundown on whichever series you want that is kind of in there.
Well, these are really courtroom books. If by procedural you meant police procedural, that's not what I'm doing. It's more like legal procedural or legal mystery, or in the 90s, we used the phrase legal thriller. I never really knew what that was supposed to mean, but I remember the first time I heard that, I thought, really? I don't think I even read a thriller, but sure, I'll dance with the girl that brought me, right? that's a good deal. But they are courtroom novels or dramas, if you were. And that first series that started in 91 featured a guy named Ben Kincaid. Did 19 books with him, and then I thought, okay, I need a break. Did some other books. Later came back and did a series with Daniel Pike. The last so far of which, the 8th one, was called Justice for All. And it involved, guess what, this art versus commerce conflict that I've been talking about, which I first wrote as being in the world of movies. Then I thought, no, comic books, that'll be more fun. And I started reading more about Siegel and Schuster And I think that's what put it into my head even before I really knew it, that was going to be my next book, because I wanted to break from the legal novels. And boy, did this turn out to be an all-consuming one. It was a passion project, to be sure, but so many good themes and stories, Jerry, my mom is 97, and I can assure you, could not care less about comic books, but she liked the book, and not just because it probably helped that I wrote it, but to her, it's a history book because she remembers all these times, she remembers the Depression, and she remembers World War II and the 50s and everything that comes after it. So she loved kind of reliving the times and the era.
No, that is wonderful. And yeah, when I said procedural, I do mean courtroom as well as police. Yeah. I just because I never got into it as like a student when I was in college or anything like that. I never got into law or anything like that, but it's always interested me. Mm-hmm. And people are always like, "Oh, you should do it. You should do it." And I'm just like, that is so much work. It is so much work.
Well, I try and keep it fairly true to reality in my books, maybe pushing a little here and there, but and I know I get why you watch a movie, or worse, a television show, everything's preposterous and lawyers are just bickering in court, but they have limited time. They got to keep the thing moving, but I try and observe actual procedure and laws and whatnot, and still make it an interesting book.
Well, that said, trying to hold the realities of trial court and stuff, or whatever it's called, again, not a lawyer here, versus keeping the pace of the book and the beats and everything like that. How much do you find yourself having to sacrifice in terms of reality to keep the story moving?
Not that much in terms of reality. What I really have to do is cut out the boring parts, but you can do that. You can end one scene and start another one that takes place 6 hours later or whatever, because the truth is trials in the main are slow paced and kind of dull. Even when the subject is, serious crime or a serious lawsuit for big bucks, it's still a sluggish pace and rarely as exciting as you want it to be. So it's more a matter of selecting the good parts to put into the book than making up something that could just never possibly happen.
No, that makes perfect sense. And, I just...
Well, think how many years of Perry Mason people have either read or watched. And every one of those episodes ends with Perry Mason extracting a confession from somebody on the witness stand, which in real life has happened exactly never. I mean, never has somebody just crumbled on the witness stand and confessed. But for Perry, it happens everywhere. And, it makes for great television, but it's got nothing to do with... I always wondered, why are those people even in the courtroom? Why would you show up if you're the guilty guy?
I'm sorry, I can't be there today.
You'd think I'd be on the other side of the world, but...
So here's something a little left field, but I absolutely love the movie. And I have to know how absurd it is in terms of reality. Legally Blonde. Forget getting into Harvard aside, the courtroom takeover at the end, and everything like that, when he fires his attorney and has a student, a law student.
Right.
Is there any circumstance in which you think in real life that could happen outside of...
I'm going to have to say no on that one, since she presumably has not passed the bar exam. I'm a little... it's been a while since I saw the movie. I remember my daughter Alice loved it, but that's about all I really remember. And there's a musical too, right? But I haven't seen it. Anyway, so no law student. Sometimes you can bring a third-year intern into court, but you're not going to have them delivering closing argument or anything like that. I think in reality, if she figured something out, she would have whispered it to whoever was really in charge. But, it makes a better movie. We want to see our protagonists succeed and get the big moment at the end.
Exactly. No, it was a wonderful movie. If nothing else, I think you'd still enjoy it for the absurdness that is the courtroom proceedings and stuff like that. But it's fun, and I love it. I know guys aren't supposed to like that movie, but it's a good movie, and Reese Witherspoon's a wonderful actress.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, I agree.
so, what else do you have on the horizon now that this book is out as of today? Um, what's next for you?
Well, funny you should ask, because next year's nonfiction book, I think it's scheduled for May, is going to be. You want to guess? I'm putting on pressure here. I'm putting pressure on Nick, but
I'm
a
gonna
lot of
I'm
it will
gonna go
follow up
another
would be.
lawsuit. I'm gonna go the lawsuit against the Weinsteins.
Oh no, ugh, no,
Oh
no!
no,
It's the Batman Wars next year.
the Batman
And
War.
believe it or not, although there hasn't been litigation, the story, the conflict regarding who created Batman is, if anything, perhaps even more uh, diabolical and twisted than this one is. And I think it's a story that's much less well known. So I'm looking forward to that one coming out.
Now with the Superman Wars, it is the battle for truth, justice, and an American icon. I
Right,
just
right.
totally messed that up for you. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
It's my Chicago slur. Um, do you already have a log line for the Batman Wars or not yet?
Like, what would be the subtitle? Probably
Yeah.
something like no, is the short answer. I don't know what it will be yet, because that's something everybody has to agree on. But I'd propose something like the secret origin of the Dark Knight. That would be even
Ooh,
better.
I
The
like
secret
that. Yeah.
origins, something like that. I mean, I like, the Superman Wars plays on truth, justice, and the American way, because that's the slogan everybody knows, and it's so not what Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster got. Um, but that's part of the theme that is in this book. Art versus commerce. Uh, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but eventually, in 1975, after a massive PR campaign, DC does deign to give Jerry and Joe a pension, $20,000 at first, annual pension, but it's something. And they restore their credits that have been gone for about 3 decades, just in time for the first Christopher Reeve movie to come out. And that was a big deal. But why did that happen? It didn't come because of the courts. It didn't come because of lawyers or judges, or certainly not because of the comics publishing industry. It came because of fans. Because by the 60s and 70s, this cadre of adult comic book collectors who took it seriously and published amateur magazines, fanzines we called them, they were the ones who picked up on the story first when Jerry sent out this 9-page press letter, to 1,000 different places, because he was so angry and upset about most legit, traditional media outlets ignored it, but the fans picked up on it.
Yeah.
And that's where it started, and eventually becomes enough of a groundswell that DC has to do something. But that's fans. That's people who loved comics, basically standing up to power, to use a phrase we hear a lot these days, and saying, this isn't right. And they made it better. Though that's not the end of the story. There's lots more
No,
involved.
never the end.
It does get better after time, after a while.
The Superman movie with Christopher Reeves, growing up, I loved it. I
Yeah,
thought
me
it was
too.
fantastic and phenomenal. And my wife had never seen it. So I'm like, we're going to watch it. I bought it on DVD because I like to have the hard media over, digital. And we sat down and we watched it. It ages. It aged.
Mm-hmm.
It's yeah, I was like Christopher Reeve's acting is still great. Like I love him as an actor, but
Even
some of the
looked
scenes
like
I was like,
Superman.
oh yeah, he was great about it. And the jokes throughout the years of people going, how could they not recognize him without his glasses? And they've been done to death. People won't recognize me without my glasses on.
Really?
Like people just don't. They're like, oh, you didn't have your glasses on. I didn't recognize you. Like people associate what they know You know what I'm saying? So like, oh, he wears glasses. He has this hat. And if I'm not wearing them, people are like, oh, I didn't recognize you at first. Told, start talking or until whatever. And it's just one of those things. But like the scene when he's flying in like the upper atmosphere with
Mhm.
her and she's just breathing fine and stuff. You're just like, oh, some of this stuff did not age well, but it's still such a
He
fun
has an
movie.
aura, Nick. He's got an
Yeah.
aura of
Protective
oxygen or
bubble.
whatever, safeness, warmth.
But it was just, oh my God. But even Gene Hackman, just such a good movie for, what
Yeah,
it was and still kind of
lots
holds
of
up to
fun.
certain degrees and stuff like that. Oh, tons
Although I
of fun.
loved the one last summer too. I thought it was time for a redo, and I thought we got a really good one too with last
I
year's Superman
didn't
movie.
see the one last summer.
Oh, you need to run out and
I
see
did
it.
not
You're going to
catch you.
like
Sorry
it.
to cut you off. I've really loved the other one that they did with a few years before, and by a few years I probably mean like 10 now,
Oh,
if not
Henry
longer.
Cavill, perhaps?
Yeah, and I
Hmm.
really liked that one. I know some people gave him a lot of flack for not him, but like the producers or whatever, and I
Hmm.
thought it was really good. Like I had no
Yeah,
issues with it. Um, I don't get a chance to see a
I
lot of the
did.
movies, anymore. But it was. I love the superhero movies that aren't overdone. You know,
Mhm.
I think they can be a lot of fun, and I think if they're telling them in new ways, and kind of re-envisioning it for updated times and stuff, I think it's a really good thing. And I'm just taking a wild guess for anyone listening on any audio only. Um, he's wearing a Superman hat and a Superman hoodie,
True.
and so I don't know if he's doing that strictly for the visual portion of the podcast to promote Superman Wars, or are you that big of a Superman fan?
Oh, I'm easily that big of a. I've got a closet full of stuff like this, so I could go on, and I've got more now because people keep giving it to me. So I could dress Superman till the end of time.
Okay,
I'm the biggest geek on. I like everything fun. I mean, I read everything, and you probably do too. But I have. You can't see it from here, but back that way, the guest bedroom is where my wife lets me hang all the comic book related art, and we have this nice I don't know what you call that, storage unit with drawers to put comic books in. I had it specially made by this guy I found on Facebook, and he built it. It's very nice. He put an S shield, this on the
yeah.
top of the thing because he knew I was a Superman fan. And then when it arrived, there's this weird thing look over on the left side near the top. So I emailed him and said, "Hey, what's that thing?" And he said, "Bill, that's your name spelled in Kryptonian."
Oh my
I'm like,
God, that is
"Oh, okay."
wonderful.
You knew where I
That is,
lived, man. Yeah.
oh my God. Is he still around?
Which the guy who made the case? The
Yeah.
yeah, he's still around, I think.
Do you remember his name?
I don't off the top of my head. I'm sorry, but I bet I could find it.
No, that's okay. I would love to look him up and stuff. Um, do you ever go to I know you have WriterCon, and I
Hmm.
know WriterCon is a very serious con. Do you ever get a chance? And I don't want to say seriously, you don't have fun there, but you ain't going to cosplay Superman at WriterCon. Do you ever go to a San Diego Comic Con or anything and just geek out and dress up as Superman?
I haven't dressed up like Superman. I think that would not be a good fit for me. But I've definitely been to comic book conventions, including San Diego or New York, which is now the highest attendance one in the United States. I'm hoping to hit some of them this year because I've got a book to promote. So I've got an excuse to show
Yeah.
up and hang out and have fun. And,
But wearing the cape and the unitard is not up your alley.
yeah, I've got a hoodie. That's good enough.
No,
We'll
no,
go
no,
with
that's good
that.
enough.
I
But you
mean,
see him though.
even George Reeves, who played the part in the 50s, and he was a good-looking, athletic guy, and they still made him wear padding in the front to give him more of that barrel-chested look. I don't know what they do to me. It would probably just be a whole new torso makeover.
No, I've noticed though that at the conventions, people have become a lot more accepting. You know what I'm saying? Like you'll
Yeah.
get those guys who are 5'10", a buck 30. You know what I'm saying? Dressing up as like the Hulk
Yeah.
or Superman or whatever. People are cool with it. People aren't judging. People aren't, but you have to be comfortable dressing up in a skin tight outfit to do these things, and that is
Right.
something that I would also not be comfortable in doing.
Some people do it so well, though. I can remember where, like, the masquerade ball on Saturday night for the handful of people who wanted to dress up, that was a thing. Now it's not even a thing because everybody walking up and down the halls or close to everybody is in some costume or another. And some
yeah.
of them are incredibly well done.
Oh, they have costumes that are like, there are kids who cosplay and people who cosplay, not just kids, who are like amateur, like they have skills, but it's like, oh, here's our EV foam type stuff. And they look great. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, that is some way to do it. But there was one guy at a convention who dressed up as the xenomorph from, I want to say it was a xenomorph. Yeah. From Alien.
Yeah.
And had a full animatronic costume that had like the head moving and opening and you know what I'm saying, stuff like that. And people go like crazy amounts of money to make some of these things. And that
would be heavy, I would think, but whatever.
He made it, there was a way to make it lighter and he had supports and stuff. But I mean, this was before the days of 3D printing. So it would have been heavier because now with 3D printing, you can make anything and make it hollow and nice and lightweight. But oh my God, back in the day, like some of these, and even now, some of these are just great. Now, I have a question for you about WriterCon, if I can come back to that for a second.
Sure.
You have speakers and the agents that come down. And I'm not, again, I know we talked before, my questions aren't meant as a gotcha or anything like that. People connect with the agents there. Like, it's not like, that is so wonderful.
There, you can meet with them. You can meet with all of them if you want. It's not, it's not limited except by your schedule. We block them in 10-minute increments, which is really more time than you need to make your pitch. But I've been to conferences where they like ring a bell every minute. I'm not exaggerating, or 2 minutes, which means change lobsters and dance. Well, that's just not enough time to make a connection with anybody. We try and make it less stressful and give you plenty of opportunities to talk to whoever you wanted to talk to, because I know that's a driving motivation for people who want to get into traditional publishing with large publishers. You're going to have an agent in all likelihood. So we're trying to make that happen.
It's a very almost, and again, this is why we have editors, because I'm about to use the wrong word, but almost a very philanthropic view to have on writing and helping authors and stuff like that. Why? Like, and I'm not saying why, like I would never do it, but like, what was your inspiration that happened? Like, what experience in your life made you go, you know what? Yeah. I want to make other people's lives easier, and this is how I'm going to do it.
No, well, I kind of touched on that before. It was really hard when I was starting out to get information about how to get published. I got some when I got to college, although even then, trying to find somebody who had actual publishing experience was worked out okay for me. But if I can make it easier for somebody else, I think that's worth doing. I think, in my experience, writers are the best people on earth. Generous, really got your back, care about others. And that's another thing I like about WriterCon. I think it's, people talk about networking, but there's something to be said for just finding your tribe, and that's what happens at WriterCon. You meet people who share your ideals, your goals, understand what we think is important anyway. And so you've got people you can bounce ideas off of. You got beta readers in the future. And there's really no substitute for that.
No.
Plus, I've seen over 36 people have come out of WriterCon and gotten really good publishing contracts. So I know it does happen.
No, that's wonderful. I'm just, as a writer myself, I'm so used to like good things only happen when they're rooted in trauma. You know what I'm saying? Because of the type of books that I write. And you're like, no, I just want to be a nice guy. I don't want people to struggle like I did. And that's just such a wonderful, uplifting kind of view to have on things, which makes me really just want to go, all right, how much credit do I have left on my cards to be able to go down to WriterCon now?
Yeah, come
Because
join us. No,
yeah,
I'm aware that I have been fortunate. I published my first book, like I said, many years ago. I published 66 more since. I'm going to publish more before I'm done. And, this is giving back a little bit.
giving back is always a good thing. Speaking of the 67 books that you have right now, for everyone who's listening who now wants to look you up, besides writercon.com, which we've said like 5 times, and I'm going to say it again, writercon.com. Give us the shameless self-promotion on everywhere we can find you, look you up, buy your stuff.
Well, my website is predictably williambernhardt.com, so that's not hard to find. And I think you can see about everything I've ever read, all the novels, thrillers, books on writing. I've got 3 books of poetry, got a couple of YA books, and probably some other things that I'm forgetting. And now the Superman Wars, which is, really kind of fun. It's after so many years, it's nice to do something different. And it's nice to do something that pulls together so many things that I think are important. I don't think I've even mentioned yet how important family was to Jerry Siegel's story. Jerry ends up marrying a woman eventually called Joanne Siegel, who, when she was a teenager, was Joe Shuster, the artist's first model for Lois Lane. Like, she posed so he could draw Lois Lane. And he was like, I don't know what a woman looks like when she's been carried through the air by somebody who's flying. Pose for me. And then about 12 or 13 years later, Jerry and Joanne meet up again and get married. So Jerry, the model for Clark Kent, marries Joanne, the model for Lois Lane, and they have a daughter, Laura, who grows up to be a reporter. I mean, how perfect is that?
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah.
That's a great story. And I was able to interview Laura, and she has 2 sons of her own now, and she has not spoken in the past. The first email I sent, when she replied, which was many weeks later, the first sentence was, "I don't give interviews." And I thought, oh, this is off to a good start. But I visual. Well, could you answer some questions? I just want to get something straight. And I ended up getting all kinds of wonderful stories out of her and her sons. The one, speaking of that Christopher Reeve movie you mentioned, when by that time they've got the pension, their credit has been restored. So they've been invited to the red carpet premiere in LA. And she's sitting there in the theater between both parents, holding their hands. And then 4 minutes and 16 seconds into the movie, the credits whoosh up and it says Superman, created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. And she feels both parents squeezing her hand, and she turns to the left and she sees tears running down her father's face. It just meant so much to him to finally see his name associated with his character again.
Good.
It is really moving story.
No, that is wonderful.
Yeah.
Are you on social media?
All over the place. Come to Facebook and follow William Bernhardt, or if you are a writer or aspiring writer, there's a WriterCon group too, and you can join that. And if you're into that world, that's actually a good place to be, because I and others post the latest news going on in the writing world, so you know what's going on. You get to hear. Plus, it's boosters and a lot of stuff. The Book Fest awards were just announced this week, and we had winners. So of course, everybody's patting them on the back. It's a warm place, and I'm every place else. I'm on Instagram, although mostly just because my mother's there. The 97-year-old mom I mentioned, who's still sharp as a tack. I hope I'm half that smart at 97, but she's on Instagram, so I have to be careful what I post there. And LinkedIn, and I don't know what they all are, but I'm about everywhere.
But you are about everywhere. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been absolutely wonderful, and I don't want to hang up, but we are running out of time. So I do have to ask,
Mm-hmm.
if there was one piece of advice you could sum up from all the books on writing that you've done and
Mm-hmm.
give that one piece of advice to an aspiring writer, what would it be?
Don't quit.
Don't quit. That is succinct.
That's how I sign up every podcast. It's the epigraph at the start of every one of those books. You cannot fail if you refuse to quit. And here's what people need to understand. Writing's hard. It's not just you. It's not just because you're not talented. Writing's just hard. And I almost gave as my one thing, my one piece of advice, I almost said write every day, which is also good advice. But I realize not everyone can quite do that. You know, you might have work, or you may be raising children, or whatever. You're still trying, even if it's just 20 minutes, remind yourself what your book is about. But whether you can do that or not, the essential thing is don't get frustrated, don't get mad, don't throw it all in the trash basket, don't quit. Just keep working. I can't predict how long it will take before you break through, but eventually you'll have the right book in the right place at the right time. That's when you get published, unless you quit too soon. So don't quit.
Don't quit. Succinct, to the point, and pretty motivational. Don't quit. Just keep going. I like it.
Good.
I want to thank you again. I want to thank everybody who came and tuned in for the episode, watched on YouTube, listened on whatever channels we're on. That's all my producer. I'm just the pretty face and voice you get to hear.
I always wanted to be a pretty face, but oh well.
No. You have a very pretty face. That sounded weird. Don't take that the wrong way. Today's
going to be bleeped later.
Yeah. No, I'm going to leave it in so people can laugh at me. No, but I want to thank everyone. I want to thank you. And for everyone, go buy William Bernhardt's books, especially his new one, The Superman Wars. Anywhere books are sold. I want to thank our sponsor, Four Horsemen Publications, for making this possible, so I'm not just sitting here talking to myself. And until next time, again, it costs nothing to be kind. So be nice. See you then.
Thank you for listening to Drinking with Authors. Join us next time for another fun conversation with an author over drinks.